Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And today, the Indianapolis Colts released quarterback, former Super Bowl MVP quarterback Nick Foles, who in the last, four or five seasons in the NFL has, it's been a tough ride for him ever since, their Super Bowl run you know, where Carson goes down at the end of the season in 2017, and it didn't look good for them at all. I mean, it looked like, you weren't the Eagles team, who was one of the best teams in the NFL in 2017, loses their star quarterback. And I know, if some new NFL fans, if you haven't heard, Carson Wentz was a stud in 2017. And in my opinion, my honest opinion, I think that ACL injury for Carson Wentz is what ruined his career. I personally think that and I hate playing the what-if game. I say it all the time. I hate playing the what-if game, but I think if Carson Wentz never gets that, never has that ACL injury, I think it's a whole different thing. Nick Foles is in a Super Bowl MVP. Maybe the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl that year, but what I can tell you is Carson Wentz that season was on a different level. I mean, he was amazing to watch. I mean, that year in 2017, he was one of my favorite players to watch in 2017. When he went down, it was awful. It was a horrible injury. When he came back in 2018, tried to get back, but his career just was never good back after then. And we've seen, the rough years he had. But Nick Foles was the hero after all that. Carson has this MVP season. Nick started in 2017. He started the three last games. Carson played so well in the 13 weeks before that, or the 12 games before that. Carson played so well in the 12 games before that he still won MVP. He had that good of a year. And Nick Foles, he struggled massively in his three starts. He looked awful. And some people in the NFL, they're saying this might be looking like one of the worst one seeds we've ever seen, because Foles was playing awful, and then playoffs come and this light switches, and it was unreal. I mean, that first game against the Falcons, the division round, he didn't play that great, but it was enough to get the win. But then going into the conference championship against the Vikings, he just turns into a monster, and they blow the Vikings out. Then, we all know about Super Bowl 52, the Philly special, all that stuff. He was amazing, and he was even solid. Carson wasn't ready to go in 2018. Started 5 games, 2018. Had a 4-1 record in 2018. I think he started the first 2 games, then started the last 3 games because Carson got hurt again, of course. And I think when he came in, and they were 6 and something, or I think they were 6 and 7 when he came in after Carson got injured, and their only hopes to make the playoffs and win the division, or not win the division. I think it was, I think it was either win the. I think it was either win the. I think it was win the division, or if not, it was getting into a wild card. Their only hopes was they needed to win out. They played a game against the Texans, which back then the Texans were a really good team with Deshaun Watson and the team they had. And I'm a Texans fan, so it's not being biased at all. They played the Commanders, and they played another team. I can't remember who else they played. They played another really good team. Won all 3 games. Foles played amazing, and 3-0 in those final 3 games got them to the playoffs. And I think that year they won a playoff game. I think they beat the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure on that, though. I believe they did beat the Rams that year I think they did in that year, and then they lost in the second round to the Saints, and that was the end of Foles in the playoffs. But then his next year, he did so good He did so good ending the season and winning, Super Bowl MVP the year before. He gets a big contract with the Jaguars. First season, I think he broke his collarbone or something. So it was just bad for, Nick Foles after that. Goes to Chicago, starts 7 games of 2020, 2-5 record, 312 attempts, 202 completions. 2021 started 1 game, won that game actually. And then 2022 with the Colts, he started. He was awful on his 2 starts with the Colts. 3 games, 2 starts, 0-2 record, 25 completions, 42 attempts, 224 yards, and 4 interceptions thrown. Now, they didn't really have a great team at all. I mean, their team was awful, and I think he played pretty decent in his 1 start in Chicago. 2021, he had 1 start with Chicago. They won the game, 24 completions, which is 1 completion less than he had in 2 starts with the Colts. 35 attempts and 250 yards and 1 touchdown pass. So I guess it was a little different. That Colts team, they really weren't a great team last year, and he got hurt in his final start. So it's been bad for Foles in these last 4 seasons. So yeah. Is this the end of Nick Foles? I guess that's the question here. Super Bowl MVP, biggest underdogs, I guess, as a 1-seeded. I mean, that's crazy. But 34 years old, horrible years in a row, basically 2 bad years in Chicago, a horrible year in Indy. Didn't play much, but still, when he was out there, horrible. Jacksonville got a huge contract, broke his collarbone. So is this the end of Nick Foles? Is this where he retires? I want to say this is the end of Nick Foles, and you'll probably never see Nick Foles play a football game again. But I still think there is a chance that some team will want Nick Foles, even though he's 34 and has looked bad in his last couple appearances in the NFL. He still has that good resume, smart guy, good veteran, good voice in the locker room. You can have him compete with your backup. Right now, if at this point in May, if someone doesn't already have a backup quarterback plan, I don't know what to say. So Nick Foles can come in as the 3rd string possibly, and battle with the backup. But if not, I think that's the only thing an NFL team's going to do with Nick Foles. Try to fight for the backup spot, and then teach if the starting quarterback's younger, be a good voice and a good guy in the locker room for that younger quarterback. I never say never, but I don't think we'll see Nick Foles start a football game, an actual NFL season game. I don't think we'll see that happen again. Yet alone maybe even put on an NFL uniform. I think, and I could be wrong, and I hope I am, because Nick had some great years in Philly, but I think this could be the end of his run. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoy them. Your thoughts on the Colts. I mean, it's not huge. I mean, he started 2 games last year, but I just love it because former Super Bowl MVP, and hasn't done crap since. So, you guys are your thoughts, and that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.